Hey, listeners, it's a new month, and of course that means a new sponsor. This month we are sponsored by Inebri-art pens, and Zebra is serious about making the best pens possible, which means their ink lab team is always testing, innovating, and perfecting ink formulas. And if you want to see what they have to offer, you can go to zebrapen.com and check it out. They sent us a wide variety of pens, mechanical pencils, colored pencils, mechanical colored pencils that we're going to be giving away at our life drawing events the first Monday and third Wednesday of this month. And like I said, check out their website, zebrapens.com, and see what they have to offer. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a blog. There's an artist studio where you can check out some artwork. And there's a link that says Find Zen. So you can go to zebraartpens.com and find Zen as well as plenty of art supplies. Thanks for listening. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. We're actually at the Wickford, Rhode Island Arts Festival, but we're here to talk about Scaricon, which was a couple weeks ago. We were asked to set up there, and we recorded a bunch of interviews with a bunch of cool people, some filmmakers, some past podcast guests, and we were just hanging out there the weekend, having a great time, and we even got to speak to the legendary Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. And he was an amazingly cool guy. We put that up as a bonus episode, but we're going to tack it on the end of this one, too. So here are the interviews from Scaricon, which happened in Framingham, Mass. Okay, Inebri-ite, we are here with Austin Snell, director of Exposure, which is an independent film. How did you get into filmmaking?
Well, it's just something that's been a part of my life since I was 5. I mean, I was like making films with action figures from as far back as I can remember. So it's kind of inseparable from who I am. Like, whenever people ask me that, I don't really have an answer because it's just like, that's just what I am. Like, I don't know how to do anything else.
It's funny because like I'm an artist, and so many people go like, "Oh, when did you start drawing?" And you're like, I don't know.
I just draw.
Just did it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's the definition of a calling, you know?
Yeah. So when you started, like, you were 5, like, what did you use? Did your parents give you a camera? Or?
Yeah, we had a VHS camera in the house at the time. And
yeah.
I think the very first
thing... I was going to ask that,
but
I didn't want to sound like an old guy.
No, it was VHS. And I think the very first thing I ever did was I made... a Lion King movie using... I took a book I had about Africa and found some beautiful pictures for backgrounds and propped it up like a background. And then I had McDonald's toys of the characters from the film, and I placed them in front of the book as a background to kind of like stage a scene.
Yeah.
And that's the earliest memory I have of ever pointing a camera at a thing and trying to tell a story.
Do you still have that video?
No, I wish I did, right? And I made a ton of stuff. I was a Godzilla fanatic as a kid, so I made, dozens of, little movies with my Godzilla figures and stuff. And when he would spray his blue fire, I would twist up blue tissue paper and do stop motion to show it like...
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So now you have a movie, Exposure. Is this your first independent film?
This is my debut feature.
Yeah.
I've done a couple things in the past that I kind of consider like my student films, but this is my first step forward to try to sell a feature that I've made.
And did you go to school for this, or did you just all
No,
self-taught?
I was... I wasn't entirely self-taught because I was a PA for a commercial production company in Topeka called Gizmo for a while.
Yeah.
And a guy there, Jeff Carson, kind of taught me how to properly light, and I got to drive a grip truck and stuff and be around that world.
What is a grip?
What's a grip?
A grip. You see that term all the time.
It's basically you're going to be carrying stuff, placing stuff, driving the truck that all the stuff is in.
You pick things up and put them down?
Yeah, basically. You grip them.
So what is Exposure about?
Exposure is kind of a throwback to John Carpenter, David Cronenberg era of 80s horror. It's about a couple that goes to a cabin in the woods to fix some problems in their relationship.
Yep.
And then an evil force, if you will, in the woods mutates them into monsters. So it's entirely practical. The suit is a full foam latex bodysuit that we constructed. Jake Jackson, our makeup effects artist, made it himself in his garage studio. So it's totally old school, practical stuff.
And was that expensive? I feel like that would be like...
It was pricey. It was pricey and it was a lot of work. But, you know, if you're making this type of movie...
Right.
That has to be the thing that works.
Yeah,
so, like,
and you got to make sure that that's on.
It's worth, it's worth investing in that. So, even at low budget.
Yeah, because you don't want to be like Birdemic and be like, Although
there's an audience for that too. Yeah,
It's I'm absolutely an audience.
But this type of thing, you know, if you're gonna make a monster movie, like you should deliver on your monster for sure.
And so like. You mentioned some names, but like, what are other movies that you found inspiration from?
Well, we straight up homage a lot of them with shots. I mean, we have a very direct reference to Alien in there, and basically, if it's anything gross from the 80s, we probably talked about it while we were filming things. There's a lot of The Thing influence in there.
Yeah.
There's some reverse photography sequences that are very Evil Dead inspired. Mm-hmm. So many titles came up because we're all just fans.
Yep.
You know, that it kind of blending all these things together gave it its own language and its own style. But those nods are definitely in there.
And is this like its official debut at ScareCon, or have you done other conventions?
This was the first time anyone had seen it that wasn't involved with the
feedback been so far. And I mean, you know, obviously people are hopefully purchasing the movie, but you know,
we're not selling it quite yet because we're trying to get a distribution deal for it.
Oh, okay.
So it is not currently for sale. You have to go to a festival or come to a place like ScareCon to see it for at least another year.
Yeah. Oh, did you air it as part of like one of the convention showings?
Yeah. We premiered last night actually.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
yeah, a good amount of people here got to see it, and that was the first time I'd seen it with a crowd.
And
which was great.
That had to be surreal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially, you know, having been based in Kansas my whole life making stuff, to then see it with an audience of people who I have no idea who any of them are. Is a new experience for me because I'm still pretty green. And it was fantastic. Everyone was super warm and nice and seemed to enjoy it.
Did you get any criticism, not just like I didn't like it, but like did anyone come up
constructive
with
feedback?
Yeah.
I mean, and that I'm very receptive to that. I mean, and a couple of people had a few things, but for the most part, it seemed to just
everyone really
go down pretty easy.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
Well, congratulations on that, man. So normally I'd ask people where they can see the movie, but you said they're going to have to come to conventions. Do you have other conventions lined up this year for it? Yeah,
we are going to be at Crypticon in St. Joseph, Missouri in the middle of July. We are doing actually a music festival in Lawrence, Kansas called Field Day Fest, also in July. That'll be kind of cool because it's not a typical venue. We're going to be showing it in this big bar. And then it's a punk rock show immediately afterwards, so it should be kind of more of a party vibe.
Yeah.
And then, we've got a lot of festivals coming up over the next year, so the best place to kind of keep track of that is on our Facebook page.
Which is just Exposure?
Facebook.com/Exposure the Film.
Exposure the Film. Yeah. So I feel like that's one of those things that if you Google search Exposure, you can get some really
you got to be careful.
Interesting.
But just look for the monster hand is what I've been telling people. Our profile picture. It's pretty easy to spot.
Outstanding. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'm
thanks
glad
a lot,
that your
man.
premiere went really well, and thanks for coming over and talking to us.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Okay, and we are here with Brett and Tom from Kids of Albany, which is a Rocky Horror Picture Show group.
Shadowcast, yeah.
Shadowcast?
Totally.
So how did you get started doing this?
Well, I mean, I've kind of formed the group almost like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Most cities do have like a Rocky cast
Yeah.
wherever you go, and Albany didn't have a cast whatsoever. So this dude named Mike, who is kind of like the founder of our group, he just like went to this major theater in Albany and pitched the whole idea to them. And when you have a theater with like, an historic environment and seats and stuff, they're not like too keen on like, oh, you want to throw like
confetti and
everything,
toilet paper and
But they hopped right on, and ever since we're coming up on 10 years now, every October we do a show there, and we travel around New York doing shows. So like, it just kind of steamrolled once that first show happened, and now we're still getting over 2,000 people at our shows sometimes.
Nice. So it was just kind of like, hey, this would be fun, and now it's like, oh, it's kind of work now.
It was almost like, yeah. It was like, why doesn't Albany have a shadowcast? That was kind of like, every city has one. So then once we got it going, it was just like, now we get to come to these cons and do all sorts of stuff. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. And how did you get involved, Tom?
I went to a show, and as soon as I saw it, I fell in love with it. So I messaged Brett, and I was like, how do I be part of this?
Yeah.
And I started off as Dr. Scott, and then eventually worked my way up to Frankenfurter. So.
Now, did you always, were you always involved in theater and acting stuff? Or?
No. I never been on stage before. And then I was like, I'll wear fishnets and get on stage.
That's kind of one of the things about our group that most people are shocked to hear is like a lot of the people have no experience whatsoever. And, usually after a few rehearsals, we can mold them into a decent transsexual or whatever you're going to be on stage. But a lot of our folks just working in a cubicle or whatever it is.
Yeah, and the Rocky Horror Picture Show is always known for being like a whole experience. People yelling. It's almost like the first version of Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been to them before, but I always kind of thought they were the same things that people yelled out. But last night, people were yelling newer thing that I'd never heard before. Is that something new?
It's kind of a mixture of the tradition with the, there's even some lines that I don't even find that funny, and I'm like, why are people still saying these lines? But then when I dug into a little research, it's like, oh, come to find out that joke was from the original theater back in 1979. So some of those jokes are more being thrown out for just the tradition's sake.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true. We do these shows, 8 shows a year probably, and I still catch stuff. We'll be on stage, someone will scream something out, and it just cracks us up so hard. So it's even last night, I definitely heard 2 or 3 things that were just completely foreign to me. So, people are just keep changing with the tides and updating also the references to more timely.
Do you ever get someone new that comes to the show that's like, I just want to watch the movie. Can you quiet these people down? Do you get people that don't understand?
100%. Especially when we're at the Palace Theater, I think they at least get a few complaint letters every single year of people who just don't read the fine print of the show.
Right.
And they're literally like, shh, what's going on? And then you have the people who also went thinking it was just a movie, and then when we all come out and, there's all that interaction, they're just blown away. So it kind of works on both ends.
Yeah. And so did you... You weren't performing last night. Do you perform? Yeah,
well, last night there was some tech issues. The projector was blocking the screen, so we literally had no access to the stage. So what you saw last night was a very impromptu, we don't want to cancel the show, so let's just have fun and watch it with everybody.
Right.
Which for us was awesome, because we never get to watch it with the audience. But normally, it's a full-on production. We have... really big and extravagant props that are screen accurate, and a lot of that stuff, unfortunately, here people didn't get to see.
Yeah.
But that's how we take it seriously. Is every year we're adding on bigger and better props, and we just added on the car that Brad and Janet are riding in the beginning. So we have a big wooden car, headlights, wipers, the whole deal. So a lot of that stuff we can't bring here, but the show you see in Albany is much bigger.
Yeah. And Tom, so do your parents know that you perform in fishnets? And
they try and go to every show.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, my parents are like, "Are you sure you want to get up there and do that?" And absolutely. Okay.
Do you get a lot of weird? I mean, yesterday you were walking around all day, and what's that like walking around a convention?
It's looking down on everybody in the heels is fun. They're like, "What's up? Oh God!"
Yeah,
figuratively too. Though you're Frankenfurter, so you are looking down at everybody.
I'm looking down on everyone. Come to my party. No, it's great because it's easily recognizable character, and everyone just loves it. As soon as I say it, everyone's like, "Rocky Horror!"
Yeah.
They all run over and get a picture.
Do you ever get
awesome.
kind of tired of like running through the same thing over and over again, or do you try to tweak it, make it different?
No.
No.
I always try and like be a little more loose on stage because the first couple shows I did, I felt like I was so rigid, like a breadstick. I was like,
oh, I'm sure it's nerves.
But it's great now. I love it.
We like to add in a lot of new gags and stuff to keep it fresh for us because probably more than 8. I think around 8 shows a year. 10 years later, the same show over and over again.
Right.
So that's why we just keep adding stuff and a lot of new gags. And plus we have like a very loyal following of people who will come to the 8 o'clock show that we do, then they'll come right to the midnight show. And so even for them, we don't want them to see the exact same show every time. So we try to switch it up. And then if the midnight show is usually much more like filthier and raunchier than the 8 o'clock show. Absolutely. So we try to do that as well.
Yeah. Do you guys have you ever done shock treatment? Like, why does shock treatment not have the same following?
Have you ever seen it? I think also too. I think the shock treatment didn't have any of that magic that happened with Rocky, where the midnight showings and this, that, and the other. But however, though, even last night we were kicking around the idea of like, we could do a double feature where you do Rocky at 8 and then Shock at midnight. But
I feel like you would almost have to do it the other way around.
Shock doesn't
build
come
up
with,
to Rocky Horror.
Of course, that comes with like no weight to it whatsoever.
Right.
So.
Do you guys do other performances? I know there's other Rocky Horror groups, shadowcast that will do other movies and whatnot. And I know one does like Firefly episodes. Have you guys ever thought about doing stuff like that?
Oh my god, yeah. We try. I literally dream about doing other stuff all the time, and especially with the group we have now, it's probably more of a possibility because it's more consistent. But we're even joking last night. We're like, let's do Armageddon.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
I think it'd be fun, and also too with. I know, right? Yeah. The room though is very ripe for shadow casting, and with the popularity of that over the last couple of years, especially. I think the Palace has been kicking around that idea of having us do that because that also comes with callback lines, people throwing spoons and stuff like that at certain parts. So
nice. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you for stopping by and talking to us, and it was a lot of fun. I had a great time last night.
Awesome, and thanks for coming.
Where can people find out your performances? It's got to be like a website. Or something.
Totally. Our major one there is the Kids of Albany on Facebook, and then there's also the kidsofalbany.com. You can find us there. Instagram as well. We're always updating our shows and whatnot.
Outstanding. Thanks again.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back, guys. We are still here at Scaricon, and we're here with our good friend Caitlyn.
Hey, how's it going?
Paintlyns, Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Been on the podcast several times, and so how's the weekend been for you, man?
The weekend's been awesome.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty rad time. Like, a lot of people watching, which has been awesome.
Yeah. Little disclaimer for our listeners, me and Caitlyn are a little bit on the struggle bus this morning.
Yeah.
We had a really good time last night.
Yeah, we did.
So we went and hit up the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
And it was my first time seeing it ever.
And what did you think?
I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I would recommend it to anybody.
I can't believe you've never...
I know.
It just seems like when you're like, I've never seen this before. I'm like, how is that possible?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I guess I live under a rock.
Yeah. And then you met my good friend.
Yes.
Yeah, Randy.
Randy Basil.
Randy Basil. So yeah.
And Szechuan? What was it?
Francois.
Francois.
And Francois.
Yeah. So it's no longer Steven. Everyone has weird. It's Francois.
I don't know why I say things because you take them way too literally.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. So this has been your first horror convention.
Yeah, it has.
Are you planning on doing more now?
I definitely think I want to do more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun meeting new people. It's fun seeing horror and everybody that has a passion that you have. So.
And I just feel like, these are your people.
Yeah, you fit in. It's like home.
Yeah.
Everybody's home here.
And, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, is it scary, blah, blah, blah. do you feel like overall it's been like a family type event? Like I've seen a lot of kids.
Definitely a lot of kids. A lot of really cool parents bringing their kids in dressed up. I don't know. I'd say bring your kids here and be more like us because it's awesome. I don't really know.
Hang on to your wallets, though. Don't lose them.
Yeah, I lost my wallet. That was fun.
So, and where was it, Caitlyn?
It was under my phone. I had like a 10-minute panic attack about it, but we found it. It's a good time.
It's been a lot of fun this weekend.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm glad that, it's always nice to have a friend.
Yeah,
and
we had a good time.
We'll definitely have to do another one. Next time we'll, coordinate and plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I won't leave so many things at home.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to overload my car. I'm like, I had plenty of room.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, shit, right, yeah.
Whoopsies.
Yeah, so, it was a blast. And hopefully today will be just as good.
Yep.
And hopefully my hangover goes away.
Yeah, I hope I wake up.
It's not bad, but it's like... It's there.
It's there. It's like, hey, remember Randy?
Yeah.
I'm still here, kind of.
And I'm like, God damn it, Randy, I hate you.
Damn it.
Yeah. So, thanks again. I just figured we'd do a little greeting to our listeners who are always, emailing me constantly, be like, when's Caitlyn gonna be back on?
What?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Literally hundreds of emails a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
You didn't know you're that popular.
I'm that popular.
It's
well, hey guys.
I wouldn't lie to you.
And hey to Zoe, my number one fan.
Zoe doesn't listen.
She doesn't?
No.
Oh, because that's right. I ruined it.
Well, she wasn't
for her?
allowed to listen to that one, I think. No, but
let her listen to this one.
She doesn't. I don't really care if she listens. She just doesn't.
Okay.
Liam listens.
Hey, Liam. What's up?
And she actually sent me a very sweet Father's Day drawing.
Oh, super cute.
Yeah,
super cute.
It's when I planned this, I didn't realize it was Father's Day. So then, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. And they're like, yeah, it's cool.
But we're doing our Father's Day next weekend, so
yeah, I think
that'll be better that way.
I'll probably do that too.
Less mainstream.
Yeah. Don't let the man tell you when to celebrate your father. Do it when you want.
Oh, that's what Randy told me last night. Fuck the man.
Oh, Jesus.
Fuck the man, Caitlyn.
Damn it, Randy. I should get Randy on the podcast.
You should.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be a good time. That would be a great time.
Well, again, thanks for hanging out with us. And
thanks for having me.
You're always welcome on the podcast.
Awesome.
All right, listeners, so if you've listened to this podcast more than once, you know that I struggle with names. So this one is a real out of my comfort zone. I'm here with Garo Nigoghossian, right?
Yep, Garo Nigoghossian.
Okay.
It's
Garo
close.
Nigoghossian?
It's very close,
okay.
Yeah.
And he is the director of Dangerous People.
Yep.
Indie film. And so, what is Dangerous People, other than people that are dangerous?
It's a movie that takes place in the early 1970s. It kind of, if you ever seen the original Last House on the Left, the Wes Craven movie, there's a scene towards the end where one of the bad guys gets his dick bitten off.
Yeah.
And Dangerous People is pretty much what would happen if that scene happened at the beginning of the movie.
Okay.
And having to deal with the dude with his dick bitten off for the rest of the movie.
So it's a family movie.
It's a family movie. Disney's released it. It's basically, a movie for cult movie audiences, I think.
Yeah. Is this your first venture into creating a movie?
No, we did one movie, came out in 2005 called Actress Apocalypse, which I co-wrote, produced, and acted in. And it was directed by Richard Anaski, who came up with the story of Dangerous People with me. That one was on Netflix streaming for a while.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was on there until about 2012.
Yeah.
So that one, some people have seen. So this is basically our second released movie. There was one that came out that we did try that I actually tried to direct, but it was a piece of shit, so I buried it. Yeah.
Is this going to be available streaming in some form?
Well, it's out on DVD and Blu-ray. You can pick it up at Amazon, or I think like Barnes and Nobles, or a lot of the online retailers carry it. And it's on. You can rent it for $1.99 on Amazon. Not Amazon Prime. We're on Amazon, just not on Amazon Prime. But you can digitally rent it or buy it on Amazon. And if you've got a Roku box, you can download the Killer Movie Channel.
Yep.
And watch it for free.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't even know if there was a Killer Movie Channel.
Yep, there is a Killer Movie Channel, and Dangerous People is on it.
Oh, outstanding. So how did you get into filmmaking? What was your drive?
I was always interested in it as a kid. As a kid, I first wanted to be a film critic. And then I decided that being a film critic was boring, and I wanted to make movies.
Yeah.
And I did do like writing review films for like zines in the 90s, and there's a publication in Boston called The Improper Bostonian.
Yeah, sure.
And I during the mid 90s I would write reviews for them occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then basically it happened in 1998. My friend in Florida, Richard Anaski, was trying to get this movie done called I Am Vengeance. And we went down there and we tried to do it, but it never got off the ground because of us being too young and dumb and making stupid mistakes. And what happened was, and me and him didn't talk for a while. And then we talked again in 2004 and immediately picked up where we left off and pretty much got Dangerous People filmed and shot and done within 6 months.
Wow.
After getting back together, yeah.
That's pretty quick. Were there things that came about while you're making this film, like unexpected bumps in the road?
On Dangerous People?
Yeah.
Well, I had to fire my lead actor and my cinematographer when we were about 80% finished with the film and had to reshoot most of it.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yep.
I feel like that's not something you ask why.
You can ask why.
Yeah.
My cinematographer was an asshole.
Yeah.
And he loved to shoot close-ups all the time, and it was making the movie really claustrophobic.
Yeah.
So you put that on top of him just being an asshole, and you want to get rid of him. And then my lead actor kind of turned into a douchebag, but he was kind of tainted by the cinematographer. And basically, he wasn't really getting the tone of the film.
Yeah.
Also, because the movie has kind of more of a lighter tone than you would expect from this type of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was playing it more like Joe Spinelli in Maniac.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like sucking all the life out of the movie. And so when he became a dick and we decided to get rid of both of them, we brought in a better cinematographer, Wheat, who was great, and Vincent Stalba, who's actually been on that show Claws, and he was in the movie. It's on TNT show, and he was in the movie I Saw the Light, the Hank Williams movie.
Okay.
He was just in the I think it was the Christina Aguilera's new video. He's in that too.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. But he's a great actor. And I brought him in, and he kind of got the tone of the movie perfectly. Like, it was like the kind of comedic beats that were there all of a sudden became apparent again, you know? And it was the movie I had written, as opposed to I remember watching footage during the first shoot with Rich, and I kept saying, I guess the movie's not a comedy anymore. There's no comedy in it. Everything's just so depressing now.
Yeah.
So it was good to get people in who understood what the movie was.
Yeah.
And me and we got really crazy with the cinematography. We were like, let's try this, let's try that, you know. And then Vince just totally nailed what I wanted from the lead role.
It's an interesting thing that I'm sure it's happened before. I just never particularly seen it, where someone on an independent film makes kind of a period movie, and it almost really lends itself to the 70s, because in the 1970s this would have been the most highly produced film ever. So being an independent film, just because it's an independent film, it gives it kind of an old-timey feel. It had to be a little more difficult because you had to work around today's world. Was that a real challenge?
Yes. Basically I was trying to, a lot of the movie takes place in this kind of one room.
Yeah.
And I was looking for places to kind of shoot it. And then finally I'm just decided, screw it, we're using my apartment.
Yeah.
And basically that was my apartment that we were shooting, because I could take down anything modern in my apartment,
Right.
and replace it with something older and stuff like that. And basically, you didn't have to worry about blood getting everywhere because I would take care of it. It was my apartment. I'm not going to get upset if blood's...
It's like it's yours, so if you break it, it's your fault kind of thing.
Yeah. So we ended up shooting that, and then basically, like, there's a bar scene in the opening of the movie that, you know, we it's very hard to find a bar that looks older.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we shot at a strip club.
Oh, no kidding.
And we just had to shoot around it being a strip club.
Yeah.
And it ends up looking like an older bar because we shot around certain things and we covered up stuff and we put like an old poster up, you know, behind there. So it was basically, you know, you because it's daunting when you go into a period piece because you're like, oh my God, I have to have everything, you know, look 70s and all that. But then once you realize only what's in the frame has to look 70s,
right,
it makes it less daunting. And then, you know, you just have to worry about what's in that frame.
You just hope like someone on a Segway doesn't roll by.
Exactly. You know, so it's like, you know, if you look really, 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 really close in some background far, far away, you'd have to like zoom in really, really far. You can probably see a modern day car somewhere in one or two shots.
Zooming in and overanalyzing a movie?
Yeah.
That would never happen.
Yeah, there might be, you might catch a newer car somewhere in the background. But yeah, we did a good job of like making sure that nothing modern got into the frame, and it kept that kind of 70s, you know, alert, you know, whatever. Yeah.
Are you planning on showing it at conventions like this?
Well, it's showing right now as we're talking.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, okay. And it showed last year, and it played a bunch of film festivals. The Hollywood Independent Film Festival in Los Angeles, it played that. It played the Tampa Bay Independent Film Festival. It played the Upstate New York Horror Film Festival. So it played a bunch of different festivals. But right now it's out on home video, so it's mostly, you know, people can see it if they want to see it.
You know, creative people always are very passionate about what they do. That's why they do it. And I feel like people always gloss over the things they don't like. Was there something about making this film or films in general that like is a real chore where you're like, I love this job except for
dealing with some people? Yeah. I mean, if you got like the second shoot that we did was great. Everyone that we worked with was great. It was fantastic. Everyone was perfect. The first shoot was a nightmare, you know, because you'd have two people who are not gelling with the rest of the people and who are kind of trying to steal the movie from me and make it their own movie. You know, and that kind of sucked. So, you know, once you get all the right people connected, and you can't be, as a filmmaker, you can't be afraid to fire people.
Yeah.
Feel free to fire people. If people aren't helping you with your vision of what the movie should be, fire them and get someone who will.
Yeah.
And you get kind of scared, you know, because you're like, oh, how can I find, you know, will I find someone else? You'll always be able to find someone else.
Yeah.
Never get stuck on, you know, oh, this is the only person that can do that. No. They're not the only person.
And you don't have to, like, have a huge blowout and be like, you're fired, get out of here. You can just be like, listen, you know, it's not, like, we're not jiving.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Well, I mean, this ended up, both of them ended up being kind of a blowout.
Yeah. It happens, but, you know.
Yeah, the cinematographer threatened to sue me, which he never did. And I think the lead actor just he ended up because it happened on text messages. Or Facebook messages, and basically it was just him being an asshole. And he used to always say, call everyone champ. That was the whole thing. So I started calling him champ back. Oh, don't worry about it, champ. And it just pissed him off even more.
I feel like that would really be grating.
Yeah.
So what's your next? Do you have like another project in mind?
I have two projects I'm working on. I have what I like to call my Hail Mary movie, which is a much more mainstream movie, which isn't a horror movie. It's a movie about making horror movies.
Oh, okay.
And it takes place in the 1980s, and it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
So that one is my kind of. I think it's a very mainstream movie. So that one, I'm working on this because when I got the script was over 180 pages, which is an over 3 hour long movie.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm rewriting it and I'm bringing it down to like under 120 pages. Mm-hmm. So once that is in showable form, I'm going to work on trying to get funding and see what happens with that. The other thing I'm working on is a much more controversial movie, which can be shot cheap, you know, because the one thing I've noticed is that we're in a paradigm shift.
Okay.
A cultural paradigm shift. We haven't been in one as major as this one since the late 60s. And what you noticed is in the late 60s is that, the films that represented what the paradigm shift was happening was like stuff like Easy Rider and stuff like that weren't made by the major studios. In fact, Hollywood was doing pretty badly because they weren't noticing the paradigm shift.
Right.
And that's what I've seen happening right now. Basically the liberal left has gone way too authoritarian. And basically, like I always say, is that you remember in the 80s when Married with Children came out?
Oh yeah.
And basically all the conservatives were trying to get Married with Children taken off the air.
Of course, yeah.
And I always say, if Married with Children came out now, it'd be the liberals trying to take it off the air.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so basically, it's like, and Hollywood is still trying to push the kind of like left agenda.
Yeah.
And, like you see like that new Purge movie coming out, and they're trying to put it to like, oh, it's all Trump voters and stuff like that. They actually have a poster that has like, the Make America Great Again handbook with like says the first Purge on it. And it's, trying to put, all Trump supporters are racist, bigot, KKK, and stuff like that. So it's like, they're not seeing the paradigm shift.
Okay.
And I would kind of want to make a horror movie, which I never thought I would do, like a pure horror movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a horror movie showing that paradigm shift that's happening right now and be kind of like one of the first filmmakers to kind of reflect what's going on politically, like what Easy Rider did in the 60s.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of working on that, but I know no one's going to put up money for that, so I'd have to kind of fund that myself. So to keep it cheap. So either I'm making a really mainstream, fun movie, or I'm making a movie that half the audience is going to hate me for making.
Right.
So I'm whichever one seems to be able to pop first is the one I'm going to do.
Yeah. And it's got to be like, you find the right people. So like whatever one you kind of gets organized easier in the direction you go.
Yeah.
And what's the biggest challenge about getting a movie started and off?
Money.
Money
is the hardest thing, because if you don't have money, it's very hard to make a movie.
No bucks, no Buck Rogers.
Yeah, I mean, Dangerous People is a $20,000 movie.
Yeah.
And even that's cheap for what we were able to pull off. And like I'm looking, and I know that if I do this other movie by myself, I'm going to fund myself. I know I can only spend about maybe $5,000-$10,000 on it, and that's it. So it's going to cost at least half of what Dangerous People cost. And it's going to be a pain in the ass to make.
Yeah. When you see these big, like, Hollywood blockbuster movies, do you ever be like, where is all that money going? Or, like, can you be like, okay, it's definitely...
I mean, like, when you go see a Marvel movie, you kind of see where all the money's going.
Yeah.
Those movies look like they cost a lot of money, and you have, like, a bunch of A-list stars on them, so you know where it is. I mean, but, when you go... Any type of movie, the bigger budget is, the more people have to get paid.
Yeah.
The lower budget, the less people are getting paid.
Right.
So, I understand. Like, there's some movies you watch and you're like, why did that cost so much? Like Justice League. You go.
Said some movies that I've watched. I haven't watched that.
Okay, Justice League like cost like over $300 million.
Yeah.
And you're like, why did this cost over $300 million? Like, you look at something like Thor Ragnarok, cost $180 million. And it looks better than...
It's an amazing movie.
Yeah,
too, yeah.
It looks better than Justice League.
Yeah.
Or like Solo, I'm hearing is over $300 million. And I went and saw that, and I go, that's the worst waste of $300 million I've ever seen in my entire life.
To see that.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It is so lifeless and bland. It is just... I mean, I just sat there going, when is something interesting going to be happening? And the thing is, that movie could have cost cheaper, but they wanted to fire the original directors.
Right.
And I think the original directors were probably making a more fun film.
Yeah.
But, they get scared of something that's a little off, brand a bit.
Right.
And then they're like, no, we have to make this. And Solo is like the what you look at is you want, when you see people say the corporatized, bland movie product, that's what Solo was.
So, this is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is kind of how I would feel. So you would rather, like, fail hard than be bland. Like,
Yeah.
is that
good advice.
Yeah, you want to make a movie that's interesting. Like I always knew going into Dangerous People that Dangerous People might not make its money back because it's such a weird movie. It's not a movie you can put in a genre box.
Yeah.
It's about 8 different genres at the same time. So I knew going in. That's why I did not get into as many film festivals as I could have if I just made a straight horror movie, because you send them to the horror movie film festivals. They don't want it because it's not a straight horror movie.
Right.
You send it to regular film festivals. They don't want it because it's too weird.
Right.
You know, it's too, because maybe it leans a little towards the horror thing that they don't want.
Right.
So you kind of got this weird duck of a movie, you know, that, you know, is hard to categorize and all that. And, you know, when the reviews started coming out for the movie, almost every single review said it was a future cult movie, which some people would be like, oh, that's good, I got a future cult movie. But I go, oh, great, the movie's not going to be popular until after I die, you know?
Yeah, right.
So, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, I know the movie's good, it's just it's a very hard movie to convince people to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you, I think it's pretty obvious, but do you feel that, like, horror movies aren't respected simply because they're horror movies? And do you think that's changing? Like movies like Get Out getting nominated.
Like, I saw Get Out.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was better than a lot of mainstream horror movies that come out. But they were acting like it was a friggin' classic.
I was very confused when it got nominated because I'm like, I liked it.
It's
but
not.
I wasn't blown away by it. You know?
No. And it's just like, there seems to be like, you know, and I definitely think it was a lot of identity politics into why it was, you know, so overpraised.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's not a not good movie, but that's it. It's just a good movie.
Right.
It's not a great movie.
Yeah.
I never, after I walked out of it, I didn't say like, I got to go back and watch that again.
Right.
Never felt, it's like one of those movies I go, it's fun. It was good for while I watched it. It's a good one-timer, but never said that it was a fantastic, you know, like almost like genre changing movie they were treating it like. And I think that more has to do with identity politics than anything else. Like I saw Hereditary, which is the new one that's kind of like really praised, and I liked it. I thought it was good. It was better than most mainstream horror movies that come out, but you tend to see like the critics like tend to like overrate like a good horror movie.
Yeah.
Because I think with a lot of mainstream horror movies are shit.
Yes.
They're just complete shit. So when a good one comes along, they tend to act like it's the, you know, second coming of The Exorcist or something like that. You know, it's
because you're grading on that scale. Everything's so bad that when something good comes along, you're like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So what is your one like guilty pleasure movie that you're almost like ashamed to admit you like?
I don't know. There's a movie I loved ever since I was a kid called Super Fuzz. It starred Terrence Hill and Ernest Borgnine. And it's, what?
I feel like I've seen it, but I can't.
It's a fantastic movie. It's basically Terrence Hill plays this cop who ends up, I think it's like, gets, I haven't seen it in a while, but gets hit with like nuclear waste, and then he ends up getting superpowers.
Okay.
And it's very kind of slapsticky and weird and fun and cool. It used to play on HBO and like Channel 56 here in Boston, like all the time when I was a kid. Like I used to watch it, like every time it was on, I'd watch it was on HBO or anything like that. And it's always, and I used, at the Coolidge Corner Theater in Boston, I used to have my own nights for showing midnight movies because I used to own a lot of 35 millimeter prints of like old martial arts movies.
Okay.
And I remember I found someone who was renting a print of Super Fuzz because I had a trailer for it, and I'd put the trailer before like the kung fu movies, and the trailer's just insane for the movie. And I ended up finding someone who showed it, and I showed it as part of my thing, and we had a huge turnout for it because everyone was so psyched for the movie just because of the trailer. Yeah. And it went over really good, and I hadn't seen it in years either. And I remember watching it in the theater. I'm like, this is still a really good movie. It's really a lot of fun. So I always looked at like Super Fuzz as kind of like the movie that, you know, when people look at the trailer, they're like, how is that movie good? But then you watch it, it's just like, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you talking to us. Remind people again where they can check the movie out.
It's out on DVD and Blu-ray, and the DVD and Blu-ray have tons of extras.
Yeah.
So I made sure to pack the DVD and Blu-ray with a lot of stuff. So you can get the DVD and Blu-ray like at Amazon or a lot of online retailers. And the cheapest place to get the Blu-ray is probably straight from SGL. So just look up SGL Entertainment because they sell it for like $20. I think that's the cheapest price for the Blu-ray right now. The DVD's cheaper. I think it's under $15. Nice. But you can also rent it or buy it digitally on Amazon. And if you got like I said, if you got a Roku box, Killer Movie Channel, download that channel and you can watch it for free.
Awesome. Outstanding. Thanks for talking to us, man.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. All right, welcome back, Inebri-art. We are here today with heavy metal legend Dee Snider. So welcome to the show, Dee.
Good to be here.
And you're promoting your new album that comes out July 27th, For the Love of Metal.
For the Love of Metal. Yes.
So when was the last album came out? Like, has this been a long hiatus for you? Or?
No, We Are the Ones came out about a year ago. It was a mainstream rock record. But with this record, Jamie Jasta from Hatebreed challenged me to make a true metal record. And
was a bet?
It was a challenge, literally on his podcast. He said, I have a challenge for you. And he said, I challenge you to make a contemporary metal record. And I said, who's producing? He said, I am. I said, all right, let's do it. But the funny thing is, he says, I've challenged a lot of people. You're the first one to accept. Yeah. I said, well, now you have to put your money where your mouth is. So we went in the studio and just out of the passion for the music, made a really heavy record, but a great record.
And you're going to bring him on House of Hair and challenge him to do something.
Well, House of Hair, if the listeners know, it's very... it's got a very strict playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no there's no new metal bands. There's no interviews. There's no new music. So I had nothing to challenge. Look, I did challenge him. I turned the challenge around. I said, "Well, you're producing. Produce." So, but the reaction so far. I mean, the record hasn't come out officially, but the first single, the Metal Radio, "Tomorrow's No Concern," came out and blew people's minds. And I'm doing a lot of interviews with writers, and they're just stunned by the ferocity and the contemporary sound, but while still being true to Dee Snider. So it's a very promising record.
Nice. And the first convention I ever saw you at, you were promoting Strangeland, and I believe Strangeland 2 is coming out?
Coming out is not coming out. No.
Okay.
It's in various stages. It seems like it's moving forward.
Well, that's positive.
I've got a new production company called Twisted Storm, and we're involved in a lot of horror. And Cradle to Grave Horror Company, as a matter of fact. We just sold an animated kids show to Netflix.
An animated horror kid show?
Well, it's got little monsters in it, and they're cute, and they're friendly, and they rock. And we figure, we introduce the kids to monsters, and aren't they cute? And
yeah.
Take you on a journey to like, oh my God, he's not cute at all. They turn to Sam Kid and say, ow, ow, ow. Yeah. And we've got like 3 horror television shows, episodic, that we're in various stages of development on. 3 horror movies, various stages of development, and we are about to announce. I wish the ink was dry, but it's not. Relaunching and rebooting of one of the biggest horror franchises in history.
Wow.
Your mind will be blown when you hear which one it is and what we're doing with it. So I expect by next month to be it'll be in Variety, it'll be everywhere, that we are relaunching this incredible franchise.
That's awesome. And I feel like with the dawn of things like Hulu and Netflix, and there's such a wide variety of entertainment out there because people have more venues to put it out. Are you finding it easier to get stuff out?
Well, there's certainly a demand for the product, and to VO, direct to video, used to be like a kiss of death, but now it's an alternative. Stuff is being seen,
right?
Stuff is being enjoyed, stuff's being accessed, and there's money out there, and there's money being spent. So we feel that Twisted Storm is arriving with all of its product at a great time when Apple's getting the game and Google's getting in the game, and so many platforms are opening up, and it's an exciting time for producing new content.
Yeah.
Speaking of content, this is a little off my notes, but I was on YouTube the other day, and I'm sure I started with like some sort of gardening thing, and you end up on a rabbit hole, and I ended up on a video that you had done. It's not a cover because it's your song, but it's a re-recording of "We're Not Going to Take It" that you did for a cancer organization. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay, start over, D.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll just self-starting over. Chris Angel, the legendary magician, a friend of mine, and he was doing he started a new children's cancer foundation. His son is, probably 3 now, but has leukemia. Oh. Sadly. And he reached out to me to participate, and I said, I was working on the We Are the Ones record, and we had recorded this piano vocal, very dramatic version of We're Not Going to Take It.
Yeah, it was really different.
Something I didn't even think was possible, but my producer said, I hear a version here, and I was like, what are you, nuts? And when I went in and I heard the piano, and I went in and sang, it was haunting.
Yeah.
And when Chris heard it, he says, dude, you got to let me do a video. This has got to be sort of our battle cry in the fight against children's cancer, because very sadly, as it turns out, only 12% of research money to fight cancer goes to children's cancer.
Oh, wow.
And would think, to me, it should be the other way around.
Right, you think because they probably have the best chances.
And they are the future.
Yeah.
That's the old people. Like, I'm going to save you so you can live 10 more years. No.
Right.
I mean, let's help the kids who need the help the most. But anyway, we did it. Chris directed the video, and it wound up going pretty viral, millions and millions of views. And it's just amazing how a song like that can take on almost a completely different meaning in a different circumstance and delivered a different way.
Right, yeah. I mean, it was very dramatic. It was really moving. And, I lost my mother to leukemia, and I really keyed into it. So.
Well, you know what? I mean, nobody is more than a degree separated from cancer.
Right.
Whether personally, family member, or somebody, everybody is touched by it somehow. So it's such, look. We can go. It's a whole other. We're going down a rabbit.
Yeah, that's all right.
No. But just say this is there's people out there trying to do research, trying to help.
Yeah.
Give what you can, and and I do a lot of charity work now, and I run into people who say, well, I don't have much to give, and I say, let me tell you a quick story, and I'll tell you, I went and visited the Grand Canyon.
Yep.
And I took a tour with everybody else, and the guide says, please don't throw stones in the Grand Canyon. And everybody laughed, and he goes, no, seriously, it's very tempting. He said, but if everybody who visited the Grand Canyon threw a stone in, it would fill up.
It's crazy to think of that, but
right.
yeah.
And I use that, apply that to charity work. Say, you think that your dollar isn't much?
Yeah.
Imagine if everybody gave $1.
Right, yeah.
There'd be no charity work to be done, because you have billions and billions of dollars just because everybody gave one. So never think your donation is too small.
Right. Well, that's some really great advice. So what do you prefer? Do you prefer meeting your fans in this format, or do you prefer like a concert where you can feed off their energy?
Well, I mean, they're apples and oranges, and I enjoy them both. I mean, thing when you do movies or TV or concert or record, there's a distance, with the movies and TVs and concerts, and records, you don't even get to see the reaction.
Yeah.
When you do I've been on Broadway. When you do a show, you hear a reaction, but there's still a chasm between you. And if everybody threw a rock into the no, people could walk to safety.
If people threw a rock at you on Broadway,
let's not start that. And but here you really get a chance to take a moment and meet fans. Share a word.
Yeah.
They get to tell you, what your stuff has meant to them. And believe me, we, the artists, are getting as much out of the exchange as you're getting. You're meeting a hero, but we're getting to. It's just nice to hear how your stuff affected people. Unless, of course, it's bad news, and then just don't get on the line, please. I don't want to hear your problems. No, I'm kidding.
And when you started Twisted Sister, did you ever expect to be on Broadway? You were in Rock of Ages and Rocktopia?
Rocktopia. Look, there's things that I've done in the last 20 years. If you had told me when I was starting out that I would do things like be on Broadway, have a Christmas album, write a song, Celine Dion record, I literally would have punched you in the nose. I would have made you take it back.
Yeah.
Because I'm metal.
Right.
So, but life's interesting. And life has surprises. And you wind up doing things you never thought you'd do. But you're having a good time. I'm having fun. And that's good. Life should be surprised. There should be surprises.
Yeah. Well, Dee, this has been a lot of fun, and we appreciate you stopping by, talking to us. Nice. And we hope our listeners check out your new album coming out July 27th.
July 27th. Go to Amazon.com. You can pre-orders are going on right now. It's called For the Love of Metal.
And there's got to be a tour to follow up, I assume.
Well, I start doing live shows the beginning of July.
Awesome, outstanding, and thanks again, man. That's great.
Pleasure.